J.J. Wright from the Seattle Seahawks, and you are watching NorbCam.
This is Walter Jones, Pro Football Hall of Famer, top 100.
Tyler Lockett from the Seattle Seahawks.
EK Metcalf from
Dave Burleson, you're watching NorbCam.
NorbCam. You're watching NorbCam.
What's up, everybody? This is NorbCam coming at you again with another Bleacher Report live stream. Today, talking about some potential Seahawks wild offseason trade ideas. We're at that point now where the draft is over, schedules come out, rookie minicamp is over. Now we're going to the OTAs. And pretty soon we're going to hit that quiet period where it's between the mini camps and then the start of training camp and the ever so close start of the actual regular season. So there's still, though, that possibility that teams might be looking to shift some people around, some players around to potentially fill some holes that they have not been able to address in free agency or the draft. And we're going to get into some of these speculative possibilities in today's show. So I'd just love to always ask if you would follow me here on Bleacher Report for future shows and episodes. And of course, you can follow me here on my other channels like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, X, and on Facebook, all under @NorbCam. Would love your support. All right, so first thing I wanted to get into before I get into these potential trades is the schedule came out last week, and I was unfortunately unable to address my take on the schedule live here on Bleacher Report as I was out of town traveling, so I didn't get that opportunity to do it on the day of the schedule release. However, I still wanted to share my thoughts on what I thought the Seahawks overall schedule looks like, just from at a glance at first, like we all do. We look at the schedule and go, okay, win-loss, win-loss, win-loss. So I did the same thing that everybody else did, and I'll kind of go through my quick game-by-game overview of the team. As you know, so much of this, what the Seahawks do in potential trades, so much has to do with where the Seahawks see themselves. You know, do the coaching staff see this year as a rebuilding year, or do they see themselves as a possible potential playoff team who needs to make a run now because of the nucleus that they have? Getting right to it, here we go. Dar 1600 is in here. What's up? Dia Sanders, Caleb, bro, come in. Clay, right leg. Welcome to the show, man. Who do you think we should trade? We're going to get into it. All right, so real quick, as I said, with the schedule, for me, I see the Seahawks finishing this 2024 season at 10-7. The way I see the rest of the division, I see the Niners still the team to beat, finishing at 11-6, and the Seahawks and the Rams finishing at 10-7. With the Seahawks just getting the edge on them, and then the Cardinals still at the basement, but better, 7-10. So that puts us squarely in a situation where I think the Seahawks have a potential to make the playoffs. It's probably going to be in a wild card situation unless they can find a way to take on the Niners and actually steal a game from them. But I still have the Niners being the team to beat. So let's go. Let's talk about these potential trades. Now, by default, for me, I'm not a huge want to move pieces that we got kind of guy. I tend to like to roll with the players that we have unless it comes to a situation where we really feel like this player is done and we just don't have a need for him. But there's definitely some needs that the Seahawks did not address in free agency or in the draft. And the first one of those is pass rush and edge. And there's a player out there who I think could really be a benefit to the Seahawks. And I'm talking about Matt Judon. He's a bit up there, 31 years of age, but man, he has been productive playing with the last season with the Patriots. He got an injury, torn bicep, so he had a short run last year, only playing in 4 games, but still managed to get 4 sacks. But then 2 years prior to that, he had 12.5 sacks in 2021, 15.5 in 2022. Now, I see in the comment, Jamal Moon, we got edge. Yeah, we do. But remember what happened last year. Nwosu went down, and then suddenly we lost our pass rush. I don't know what happened, but we just had the Seahawks defense before Nwosu got injured and after. And as soon as he was gone, everything just sort of fell apart for the defense. So depth is always going to be an issue that we got to address. And it Judon, right now, they have not seemed to come to any kind of agreement on a contract. He has not shown up to OTAs. It feels like his time with the Patriots is coming to a close, and it's very possible that the Patriots definitely in a rebuilding mode could be open to moving a piece like his to try to build for the future. And this might be one worth taking a look at. Again, I don't know what it would command to bring him over to the Seahawks, but I feel like you can never have enough edge rushers. And this, if he could maintain his productivity that he had prior to the injury last year, would be a pretty huge get for the Seahawks. Checking out the comments here. Feel free to keep commenting away as we run through the show. But Clay Right Leg says, hell nah, too old, he says. Brian 1205, Reed and Williams getting older as well. Bo Bear, we have 5th most expensive D-line unit in the league. Why would we double down and get more? Honest question. Well, we definitely addressed the interior of the line in the first pick of the draft, but again, we didn't really. I feel like I'm talking depth here because I feel pretty good about the players that we have right now. But it's just in case what happens if something happens to one of those guys like it did last year. I always feel like you can never have too much pass rush. Again, it's just a question of how much can they afford to get. And that's the other thing. We need Clay Right Leg says we need a linebacker and another cornerback. This is true. We definitely, Clarence Arion says we need a linebacker as well. Lost Bobby and Brooks. We did address that in free agency. Granted, they're on 1-year rentals. And we drafted later in the draft at linebacker. Granted, but these are, other than the draft, pretty short-term scenarios. But if we're going to trade, I don't see this really as being a long-term solution either. I feel like these moves would be moves to try to make this team compete for this year, at least the short term. It's not going to be the long-term answer, especially with players who are available right now tend to be at the end of their later years of their contracts. So, but continue to throw your ideas out there. Would love to see what you guys think about who you think we should pick up. All right, so another name that's popped out there, and again, this isn't one that I don't feel is the need, but it's something worth considering given our history, and that would be Najee Harris of the Steelers. Now, we saw what Najee Harris did to us the last time we played him. This guy has been a beast. 3 years in the league. He's only 25. This guy's played all 17 games. He had 1,200 yards his first season. Dropped a little bit to 1034 and then 1035 in 2023. Still carrying, though, a pretty good 4.1 average, which is his best carry for average per carry for the last 3 seasons. Now, it's not like we have a strong need at running back. We've got Charbonnet, we've got K9, and I don't know what they're doing with McIntosh. That's the big question. All of us wanted to see what McIntosh could do last year, and he never saw the field, I think, but maybe once. But I don't think he ever carried the ball or saw a touch. So I'm not sure what's going on. Will he get his breakout year this year to finally get some playing time? That's the big question. But, should the Seahawks look to add some depth? And again, I don't know how many years we've had over the past several where I felt like, oh man, we got so many running backs. We have too many running backs. And then one after another, they get injured. And then next thing you know, we're looking to draft somebody off the streets just to put somebody back there. Hopefully that doesn't happen this year, but even this past season when we had K9 and Charbonnet, I thought, okay, we got the 1-2 punch. These guys are going to be great together. And a good chunk of the season, K9 was down, and we didn't see Charbonnet and K9 playing at the same time. And that loss of Kenneth Walker during that stretch when he got injured against in that Rams game, we had that gauntlet stretch of games, so we had to really win some there to make a run at the playoffs. Lost to the Rams by a field goal. He gets injured on the first drive of the game, and then he doesn't play for he misses the next 3 weeks of games. one against the 49ers on Thanksgiving. I mean, it was bad, and we missed his productivity. And could this be a piece that would add to our running back core? He's definitely he's not a speed breakaway runner. He's more of a power guy. We saw that, how he was running all over us in that final home game against the Steelers last year. Charbonnet, I think he's meant to be that short impact ground, between the trenches, hard-hitting guy. But, it's hard to deny the productivity that this guy's had. And right now there's kind of questions contractually whether the Steelers are going to bring him back. So, potentially a move could be made there. I'm just throwing this out there. Again, it was even during the draft, a running back was not a place of need that I thought the Seahawks would need to address. Obviously, other places desperately needing to be filled, but one to consider, at least if the price was right. It's one of those things where should injuries, and this is really all because of the threat of injury, because we could have everything in place, as D. Sanders 32 says, K9 and Zach is all we need, bro, if they stay healthy. And that's the thing. What if one or both go down? We would be in some big trouble. Clay right leg, bro's answer is a 32-year-old edge and a mid running back. I'm not saying that these are the answers. I'm just saying these are potential players out there who are looking to be available because their situations contractually with other teams are looking like they're going to probably potentially not be with their teams next year. So I am Grant's BR. Let's trade DK for Aaron Donald. That'll be great value. Yeah, sounds good to me. Hopefully we got the future Aaron Donald type in the draft this year. So we'll see what we got when the season starts. I can't wait to see what Byron Murphy can do. I think we're all hoping that this guy's going to have a huge impact, not just on the run defense, but adding potential pass rush up the middle, taking on double teams, which would hopefully allow other defensive linemen to get even more pressure on the outside. So try not to put too much pressure on what expectations we hope from him, but would love to see it. To have that kind of solo impact. It's been a long time since the Seahawks have had a high-impact player like this between the tackles in a long time. So excited about this possibility. Bo Bear says, trade Mick McDonald for a Big Mac and Jackson Mahomes. Now we're really, again, creative on our answers here. Dardar 1600, if you're talking about depth, then another linebacker or defensive lineman. And Brian 10, 1205, we need to develop Howell too. And we've got, Howell will be there for a while, potentially. Could be the guy that replaces Geno if they see him as that potential. I mean, he did have starter experience, but there's a question I want to throw out to you guys and get your take on things. So, Brandon Ayuk with the 49ers, still far apart from the organization at trying to reach a contract extension. Now, I was just trying to see, not that this trade would even be realistic, but I was trying to see if you had the choice, DK Metcalf or Brandon Ayuk, just straight up, like you can have one or the other right now. Which one would you take? Which is the stronger of the two receivers? I got some numbers just to look at to make a comparison. But if you could have one or the other, I'm just curious what you guys, who would you want to have? D. Sanders says DK. Jamal Moon, DK. DK. It looks like overwhelmingly DK is the choice here. Now, I'm a DK guy. There was a lot of talk pre-draft that the Seahawks might move DK, and I was like, no, are you guys crazy? But let's just for grins, let's just look at the numbers here. Let's look at Metcalf first, and let's see his numbers from last season. So DK Metcalf last season played 16 of 17 games. He had 66 receptions, 1,114 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Prior to that, he also played all 17 games the last previous 2 years before that. Had 1,048 in 2022. Had 75 catches for 967 yards in 2021. So Metcalf, from a yardage standpoint, has been on the upward trend. He had a peak of 1,300 yards in 2020, but 1,114 last year. So the trajectory's been positive for DK, and I think it's interesting because a lot of fans have gotten, I think, impatient with DK on those games where he's had his meltdowns and his tantrums and personal foul penalties, and that continues to be an issue that lurks in the side. But I still would keep him. I still want to keep him, and hopefully he continues to grow in this new offense with a new coordinator. I'm really excited to see what the two of Geno and DK and the rest of the receiving core with the new coordinator, Ryan Grubb from the University of Washington, what those guys can do together. Let's look at the Brandon Ayuk's numbers here. So Ayuk last year, 1,342 yards, 75 catches. Prior to that, he had 78 catches on 1,015, and in 2021, 56 catches on 826 yards. So similar numbers. Ayuk with 1,342 last year, DK with 1,114. So Ayuk definitely more yards and more receptions and more targets as well. Targeted, he was targeted 105 times and 75 catches. DK actually was targeted 119 times with 66 catches. So pretty similar, a little bit more productive in terms of the numbers. But I think just judging from everybody's opinions here that most people would rather keep DK, and I like what D. Sanders says, I would rather have Jake Bobo. Jake Bobo, man, that's a player that I thought they underutilized that guy. I mean, that guy could probably play tight end as well. But they just, I feel like he's another weapon that is yet to be utilized more to our advantage. Jedi Master Pip, let's be grateful with what we have and stop the trade idea. The team we have right now is a great team. Oh, and I agree with you. I'm not really even endorsing these ideas like we need to make these moves. I'm just exploring, like, if a move were to be made, where would we go with, and who might be the potential that we could maximize? Brian 1205 says JSN plays like Ayuk, Bobo, Jimmy John, Ursua. DK for Klay Thompson. We also need a wide receiver, says C-Gram 5. Not a need that I've really had on my list, and the Seahawks didn't seem to think so either during the draft. Eskridge is trash. Not sure if Metcalf, Lockett, Jason play any special teams, and Bobo can be a number 4, but we won't have that top trip for much longer, so we need someone to develop. I agree. We do need to look at someone to develop. I don't think we get that through a trade, though. This is going to be something that we're going to have to address in probably next year's draft, because Tyler Lockett definitely is getting down to the twilight of his career. He's probably got maybe 1 or 2 more years left before he probably hangs it up. And then will DK get extended another contract when his time comes up? So, I definitely agree that while this year it wasn't the year to have to draft at receiver, I think next year for sure. Dar 1600. Why are we talking about Niners, man? No, we're talking about Niners because, well, one, they're in our division. A, B, they're the team to beat, and C, Brandon Ayuk. Right now, there is potential that he won't be with their team, and could possibly get moved if they don't reach a contract extension. That would be a huge blow to the 49ers if they can't get a deal done. All right, Seagram, stop talking about Niners and Ayuk. All right, we will move on to talk different things here. Dar 1600. I also think we should trust the process and then game plan after that. D Sanders 32. What do you think about sending Lockett off? Oh man, so you gotta let Lockett finish his career here. You see that catch he made to finish the season against the Cardinals? I think it was beautiful. Nice over-the-shoulder catch to win that game against the Cards. I mean, that was a great throwing catch. Too bad it didn't mean anything by the time it happened because we were already knocked out of the playoffs at that point. But Brian, 1205. Hopefully we can barely cover Ayuk. We can't cover Sanders either. And there's a good chance that probably Deebo Samuel, if they keep one, they probably don't keep the other. I think it's one of them's going to have to go. And they'll likely keep Ayuk. That means that Deebo Samuel will probably be the casualty there. So he might be out there floating around. Seagram, another linebacker for depth via free agency. Yeah, I definitely think that's going to be, we need to, while we addressed it some, we addressed it already in free agency though. So, I mean, we've got kind of the best options that we could get. If we haven't gotten the free agency pickups by now, there's not going to be a whole lot to choose from that's going to be a game changer than what we've already gotten. I think it's going to have to be, like I said, either they come up with a trade for somebody that they feel it could really make an impact who doesn't end up staying with their current team, or we got to address it again next year in the draft, because the linebackers we picked up in free agency, they're 1 year rentals. They're here for like basically a year, and then we're back to square one unless they decide to extend them if they have great seasons in 2024. Dart signed Blitz to a contract to put him in the Taysom Hill role. Yeah, yeah, that would be good. Seagram, both rejected starters are on 1 year deals, but I said for the depth for this year only, then see how those signings play out the year. Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, and that's kind of what I've been saying too, that we're talking about picking up for depth, because yeah, you're right. We are very thin at linebacker as well. So that's something to consider. Another player that's also potentially could be a cap casualty is Budda Baker with the Cardinals. Another position we didn't really address in the draft either is safety, and we know we got a ton of corners, but we don't have a lot in terms of safety, and we didn't address that at all. So would Budda Baker be a player that we might want to consider looking at should he become available? I know he's been around in the league for a while. Let's see. Let's check out the numbers on Budda Baker. I remember when he first came out, I was hoping we were going to pick him up. Man, when did he get drafted? He's been around for a while. 2017. I remember being at this 2017 draft and see him on the board and hoping the Seahawks were going to pick him up. But yeah, it's 27, so he's still got some gas in the tank. Played 12 games last year. Probably his least productive year, so quite a bit of a fall off as of last year. Let's see, how many interceptions did he have? Interceptions. According to these stats, he didn't really have any last year. He had 2 in 2022, and no picks. Pretty no sacks. Decent tackles. 5 tackles for loss. Again, guy who's fallen off a little bit, but under Mike McDonald, could he use a guy like this to shore up a defensive backfield that's pretty thin in the safety position? That is the question that remains to be seen. But Jamal Moon, bring Jamal back and put him at linebacker. There's been a lot of talk about potentially Jamal Adams being brought back as a linebacker. And what's nice about this is if they do, they let him go, had to eat the salary that was left on his contract, but they could potentially, because I don't think any teams are looking at him, they could potentially bring him back and really in that run, just don't put him in coverage. Put him in that run stuffing, potentially blitz scenario. I think as a run stuffer, he could do that. My concern, of course, is the same thing that was the issue all season long, which was that he could not stay healthy, couldn't stay on the field. And really other than his first year where he came out here and set the record for defensive backs with sacks, he's been injured at one point or another. And last year it took him forever to get back on the field. And when he finally did, 5 plays in or whatever, I remember he made that tackle Monday Night Football and got concussed and knocked back out of the game. And they finally made it back. And boy, it's just painful to watch him in pass coverage. Just was not good. So, yeah, if they do bring him back, it would have to be a very specialized position. But could he be the solution? We're not talking trade here, obviously, but could he be the solution to help add essentially some depth in that linebacker position? I would not put him back into safety, but could he be a hybrid linebacker and potentially help out in that role? I see that more of a realistic possibility. So we'll see if the Seahawks continue to have talks with him. Let's see. Are you going back in the chat here, Bobe, are you a Geno supporter or not? In depth, please. Okay. A lot of that question will be answered this year for me, because I've been a Geno supporter. I mean, I was a Russ supporter until he left, and then I did not believe in Geno, and then he had that great comeback year and blew everybody's expectations away. Last year was a bit of a fall off, but I still think that we had issues at offensive line, and any quarterback is going to have struggles when the offensive line can't give them enough protection. And last year Geno was, it was a little bit of a downgrade from the previous year, but this year we've shored up the offensive line. It should be better. Our weapons are what they are. We haven't really changed the weapons on the offensive side, and we're changing coordinators. Now, we've had so many coordinators over the past several years, but this is a pretty major one here. And I feel like if Geno can't get it done this year in terms of proving that he is really, a long-term future, for me, my initial feeling is that Geno is the guy for the next couple more years, and then we've got to find the long-term solution. And I don't know if Sam Howell is it, or we got to draft for that future quarterback. I think that, to me, the Geno Smith question will be answered this year, because if he just plays at the same level he did last year and can't get us over that hump, can't show that he can help, carry the team and win the game by putting the team on his shoulders, then to me that would be his last chance. This is really for me my last chance here to see if Geno can really prove that he can do it with a totally different coordinator. No Pete Carroll in there, so there won't be the excuse that Pete Carroll doesn't let the coordinators, do their jobs. So, yeah, I'm not saying I don't think he can do it, but I'm definitely watching with a skeptical eye and feeling like, okay, if it's not this year, then we definitely need to move forward. I was in favor of drafting Michael Penix Jr. Until he got taken where he did. So the fact that I was already looking to that as the future, I know that Geno's time is limited here. The question is he like on a 2-year time, or does he have more to offer than just the rest of his existing contract? To me, this year will kind of decide that for me. Let's see, where are we here? Do not bring Adams back. Injury history, he might make a tackle, break his finger, and miss half the season. Linebacker is even more physical than safety. His attitude is all about me. Yeah, this is true. When they let him go, I was pretty much done. I kind of felt like that was it. I also was thinking that's it as far as safety is concerned. But in a specialist role, again, that's the injury thing's hard to ignore. But yeah, I'm definitely. I would not be disappointed if they just simply let that relationship go. There's plenty more other things that we can focus on and bring to. Clarence Arion says, Clarence Arion, I'd love to see what Sam Howell could bring to the team. D. Sanders, same. I wanted Penix too. Dardar 1600. F it. Put McDonald at quarterback. Yeah. Brian 1205 wanted Penix as well. Bo Bear, I did too, but homie is 100 years old. What are we talking about? Penix, because he's so old coming out of college? Either way, it doesn't matter. It'll be interesting to see when the Seahawks do play the Falcons in week 7, I believe. They will face either Kirk Cousins or, depending on what happens with Cousins in that first 6 games, maybe we'll even run into Michael Penix Jr. on the offensive side of the ball against the Falcons. That would be interesting. But we'll see. So our time, I believe, is up. 30 minutes goes by fast. But, it's going to be an interesting season. I think, like I said, I have 10-7. And these are the games that I picked that the Seahawks will win. Going down the list, I say we lose to the Lions, beat the Cardinals, beat the Niners, beat the Bears. Oh, sorry, I'm reading the wrong schedule here. Sorry, I got the whole list of the teams. This is the Seahawks breakdown. I was like, wait a second, that's not right. The Seahawks would beat the Broncos. Again, these Seahawks have a nice, easy start to their season. Relatively, they have the Broncos at home. They beat the Broncos at home. They beat the Patriots on the road. Lose to the Dolphins at home. Lose to the Lions in Detroit. They beat the Giants at home. Lose to the 49ers. Beat the Falcons in Atlanta. Lose to the Bills. Beat the Rams. Okay, then we are on our bye. We lose to the 49ers, so we split with them. We beat the Cardinals. Beat the Jets. Lose to the Cardinals, so we split with them. Beat the Packers, beat the Vikings, beat the Bears in Chicago, and then we lose to the Rams. That adds up to 10-7 for 2024. So we'll see how that all plays out. I predicted the Seahawks to lose to the Lions, I think, for the last 3 years, and they've proven me wrong somehow. So, but I don't know. Can they do it again against a really good Detroit Lions team? We've been so lucky to beat them the last couple of years. But I do have us still being swept by the Niners, splitting games with the Rams and the Cardinals. But 10-7 is pretty good. But we're gonna have to beat the Packers. The tough games we have to get a win against the tougher games I picked that we would win. Beating the Jets in New York, beating the Bears in Chicago, beating the Packers at home, beating the Vikings at home. I think those would be the tough ones to get. So we'll see how it goes. Every year I do a Seahawks prediction music video right before the season starts, and that's where I do my official pick. So 10-7 is my temporary pick, and then by the time the start of the season comes, I'll put my win-loss prediction in the form of a music video right before the season starts, and see where the numbers might change. But D. Sanders, no lie, homie, that prediction is trash. But great talk, and I appreciate it. Dardar thinks we're going to sweep the Cardinals. I don't know. Cardinals had a really good draft and got a lot of good weapons this year, so we'll see. All right, well, I got to wrap up the show, but thank you guys for watching. Appreciate those of you who are in on the chat, but feel free to follow me here on Bleacher Report and also on my social medias at NorbCam on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, X, and on Facebook. Until next time, we'll see y'all later. Go Hawks.